Hey YouTube, Chicago to Atlanta here, back with another video. This video isn't going to be like our normal videos reviewing the week, but no, we're going to talk about the refs and how bad it's been this season so far with penalties called and how it's ended up deciding games like we saw Monday night with the Lions and the Packers. This season so far, there have been 1,376 penalties called for a total of 11,504 yards. That is absurd with 6 weeks into the season. They're on pace for 3,898 penalties thrown. That is penalties thrown. And that'll break the previous record set last year. That was 3,447 flags thrown by almost 450 flags. That is just insane. And we're only 6 weeks into the season, so it could get worse from here. Also this season, every 4.2 plays, a flag is thrown. Nobody wants to sit down and watch every drive see a flag thrown. That is not enjoyable to watch, and it benefits the offense more than not because of the pass interference calls that are being called and the hits on the quarterback that defenders can't really do anything about. That gives them automatic first down and keeps their drive alive when defense is going out there and performing. Yes, it's both ways. Yes, there's a bunch of holding and flags like that, but it's way too beneficial for the offense compared to for the defense. I feel like personally, they either need to reduce the yardage of some of the flags or look at the rules and figure out a way to make it fair for both sides of the ball with how many flags they're throwing, because that is way too many flags thrown for 6 weeks into the season, and that just ruins the pace of play. And for the timing of some of these penalties and how bad they are, like just take the Monday night game with the Lions and the Packers. Twice they called hands to the face on the defense on third down. That resulted in first time a sack, and the second time was an incomplete pass that would have resulted in a field goal in the fourth quarter that cost the Lions a chance to drive down and win the game. This just cannot be happening in big games like this that resulted in the Lions falling to the worst spot in the most competitive division this season and then boosting the Packers up to first. If it went the other way, everyone is basically tied for first in the division. This division's so close that this game really mattered. And it happens all the time, it seems like, this season. Happened in the playoffs last year with the Saints, that controversial call. I mean, the controversial no call, I guess. That was just awful. And it happens all the time. It happens way too often, it seems like, in the NFL this season. And just like we saw in the Lions and Packers game, we don't see all the other calls that are made because they just can't. You can't find all the calls that are just absurd that affect so many outcomes of the game. Most people probably didn't tune into the Atlanta Falcons Arizona Cardinals game. That game didn't have much meaning to this season, as clearly both teams are struggling and not playing at their best and don't really have a chance to make the playoffs this season, sadly, for the Falcons. But if you watch the game, twice there was awful calls that resulted in Arizona Cardinal touchdowns that were completely avoidable by the refs, that just completely missed a call on the deep pass that the Arizona Cardinals had that went all the way down to the 2, that they didn't call a fumble, but the receiver clearly fumbled the ball into the end zone and the Falcons recovered clearly. And if you watch the replay of it, the receiver never touches the ground. As he rolls over the Falcons defender, The ball clearly pops out. He never touches the ground, and it's a clear recovery. That should be a turnover, but instead, the refs reviewed it even and gave the ball to the Cardinals because there wasn't disputable evidence. Even though if you go watch the replay from all the angles they showed, it was a clear fumble that they didn't call. That led to the Cardinals getting the ball at the 2 and having an easy score, which if you make it a turnover, that takes 7 points off the board, and the Falcons end up winning the game, or at least the game ends up differently than it was. And then the second one later in the game, with like 7:30 left, the Falcons punted, and they called running into the returner. And if you watch the replay, nobody comes close to touching the returner. And then you get 15 yards on top of that, and they get right into they already get into field goal range basically, and then have an easy chance to score. And it's just hard to watch because that was a tie game, 7:30 left in the fourth, that ultimately resulted in them having a game-winning drive as they won by 1. There's just way too many calls that refs are making that decide the outcome of the game that are unnecessary. Yes, you have to protect the players. That's a big thing that the NFL is worrying about. But these players are getting paid millions of dollars to play a sport they love, that they signed up to play, because they don't have to play this sport. They can go do what they want with their lives and get a job, but they chose to play football, and there's millions of people that wish they could take the spot of some of these athletes, but they signed up for a violent game that can lead to injuries that are sometimes unavoidable, that these calls won't change. And so when you add all these extra rules to protect the players, it doesn't actually protect the players, because it makes the game harder for the defenders, mainly for the defenders, because there's the ones that mainly get hurt by these penalties, because there's no way you can tackle a quarterback nowadays without getting a flag thrown. Just ask Clay Matthews. He would know a lot about that. And then it's just hard to watch. That was my rant about the refs for the season. I hope they improve. They need to find ways to improve the refs, like maybe train them more, or add another ref to the field who can watch everything. Like in college, they have 8 refs. NFL, they only have 7. And I never hear about bad calls in college or big controversial calls in college that change games, but you always hear about it in the NFL. Why is that? Maybe because of the 8 refs. I don't know. Maybe the rules are a little different, so it changes some of the calls. But you just can't be having that. And that was my rant about the refs this season. Hopefully they improve. Hopefully it becomes better. Probably won't be. They're probably going to add more rules to protect players, sadly enough. But thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll be having our Week 7 preview up soon. Stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.